and welcome to our 5th episode of our 2025 live stream series, Wild About Water. My name is Rachel, and I'm a watershed health educator here at the Environmental Learning Center on Clackamas Community College's campus in Oregon City. I'm so glad that you could join me today. We are going to be learning about the wetland and how it is a home to many creatures. We'll explore the wetland for all the aspects of an animal's home or habitat, and we'll meet some wildlife along the way. You may have an activity sheet in front of you that I would like to talk about now. And up at the top, it has our animal homes title of our episode. And the first activity is about matching shelters. And you will draw a line to match each animal to its shelter. We've got a coyote, a squirrel, and an owl. And then we've got their shelters, a tree, what looks like maybe a den in the ground, and a tree cavity or a hole in the tree. So you'll match each of those shelters to the appropriate animal. And below that, you will draw an animal home for a mallard, labeling where it would build a nest or find shelter from a coyote. So you'll get to exercise your creativity skills today with that one. And below we have our community connections, because at the end of each episode, we want you to be able to walk away with the new knowledge that you learned and take it back to your own community. And today it says, wetlands are important habitat for wildlife. What are 4 elements of an animal's habitat that can be found in a wetland? And you will list those 4 below. So if you have that sheet in front of you, wonderful, you can follow along. And if not, that's okay too. So I'm here in the wetland today, and I'm sure maybe you can hear those birds chirping. They are very loud and talkative this morning. Another thing I noticed was that it was quite cold this morning. We had some plants here that were very frozen. You may be able to see some of the frost on the edges. Are we able to see that, I hope, for everybody? Maybe a little dark. Well, just imagine, so we've got these leaves here, and overnight with the freezing temperatures, the water that ends up on the plant freezes, and it makes this beautiful outline around it. And I thought that was gorgeous on my walk this morning. And with the freezing temperatures and the birds, it got me wondering, how do birds' feet not freeze while they're out in the wintertime? So I did some research and I found an answer. Do you all have any ideas about why their feet don't freeze? I don't often see a bird wearing socks like we do, but what actually is happening in a bird's body to keep them from freezing is that the blood vessels that move through the bird's feet, so from their body down to their feet and back up to its heart, that blood is moving so fast that it doesn't have time to freeze. And the blood vessels are so close together that the warm blood, as it passes by the cooler blood, it warms it all up together. Isn't that amazing? I wish that my feet worked like that sometimes, but socks will have to do for now. Another plant I saw this morning that I thought was very interesting is a snowberry. And we've talked about them in the past as well. And they are a native plant here in Oregon. And we've got these little berries. They're white, and you can see them all winter. And they provide a very important food source for a lot of these birds and animals here. And we'll talk some more about that here soon. I hope y'all are able to see that. Wonderful. Yeah, we got some berries and a leaf here, and they froze overnight as well. So like I said, today we are going to be talking about animal homes and all of the things that are necessary for an animal's habitat to be complete and successful. Now, what exactly is a habitat? A habitat is an area or a home for animals where the animal can find everything that it needs to survive. And that includes, hopefully on this illustration, you can see all of these things together. We've got food, water, we have shelter, which is a place where an animal finds safety and is a place for them to hide from predators and stay warm and sleep. Along with that, in a successful habitat, These animals have enough space and they'll find a place to raise their young. It's almost like a big puzzle. These creatures need all of these things, and without one of them, it's not a successful habitat. So for example, we've got an animal, maybe a duck, any kind of animal really, but in the puzzle, they have to have food, water, shelter, enough space, and a place to raise their young. And when we put all of those together, we get the picture of a healthy, successful habitat. So let's go through some examples of animals here at the ELC that might find successful habitat here. The first one is a coyote. We don't often see coyotes with our eyes here, but we do see signs that they're here. And this morning on my walk, I saw this skunk burrow. We know that the skunks have been here at the ELC. We saw them in their burrow, but often these burrows can be abandoned by an animal after a year of living in it, and other animals may take up in them, like a coyote. This burrow could be used by a coyote. We'll have to keep our eyes out and see who lives there next. So let's take a look at the area behind me. Do you see the things that make up a home behind me? Like a kitchen or a living room or maybe a bedroom? We might not see what we see in a home behind me. I don't see my bed or a bathroom or a kitchen, but to all of these different creatures, including the coyote, they see all of the things that they need, hopefully. So we're going to go through and talk about the coyote first. So in our puzzle of a successful habitat, we first have our coyote. The animal is here. Do we see any examples of food here in the wetland for a coyote? A coyote eats small mammals. And here at the ELC in the wetland, we see lots of small mammals, maybe rabbits or other small creatures that the coyote can eat. So we do have food for them. The next thing is a place to raise their young. So do we see any places behind me that would be a great spot to raise their babies? I'm seeing a lot of plants, and these dense plants and shrubs can provide a safe place for them to stay with their babies. So it looks like we do have a safe spot for the babies. The next thing is enough space. Now, the ELC is a 5-acre site. It's got enough space for probably 1, maybe 2 coyotes. Coyotes are bigger than, say, a bird or a small mammal, so they need more space than other creatures need. So here at the ELC, like I said, maybe 1 or 2 coyotes could come and stay. So it looks like we do have enough space. All right, we've got space, place to raise their young, and food. The next thing we need is a shelter. Do we see anywhere behind me that could be a good shelter for our coyote friends? Maybe not behind me, but in that burrow that I showed you earlier, that can be a safe place for coyotes to find shelter. It looks like we do have a shelter. And the last thing that coyotes require in their habitat is water. And here in the wetland, we have quite a bit of water, as we've learned in past episodes. And as you can probably see behind me, we've got our wetland water right there. And that is a great place for coyotes to find water. And now that we've built our entire puzzle here at the ELC, it looks like a coyote habitat is what you would find here at the ELC. They have water, shelter, food, enough space, and a place to raise their young. That was a great example. So let's talk about another example. The next animal I want to talk about is a gray squirrel. And I've got a photo of one right here. And you might see gray squirrels all over town. They like to find space in neighborhoods or in the forest, and even here in the wetland. And one of the things I saw on my walk a while ago was a nest for a squirrel. I've never seen one of these before till someone pointed it out to me, And squirrel nests are called drays. And they're made up of leaves and sticks. And they're very interesting. So keep an eye out for any squirrel nests that you might find around your neighborhood. So we've got our squirrel here on our puzzle. Let's go ahead and take a look at our puzzle. Food is the first thing that we'll look for. And here at the ELC, we do have nuts and seeds that a squirrel might eat. Our next piece of our habitat that we want to look for is a place to raise their young. And like I showed you before, the nest or a dray for a squirrel is a great place for them to raise their young. Let's put that over here. And if you've ever been here at the ELC, you'll see lots of squirrels. So you know that there may be maybe 10 or more squirrels here in the area. We're all running around up in the tree. Oh, there go the ducks. But squirrels, they will often climb in the trees or play down on the ground in the shrubs. So they definitely have enough space here. The next thing is shelter, which we talked about as their nests, and water. So these squirrels are able to find water in puddles or in Newell Creek that flows through here or the wetland. And it looks like here at the ELC, we have another complete picture of a habitat for a gray squirrel. All right, I have a couple more examples here. The next one is a mallard, and we have seen them very often here at the ELC. There's about 20 or so mallards here a day, if not more. And they have enough space and food and water and all the things they need here in the wetland. And I want to show a quick photo of what looks like just a bunch of dense plants, but actually can be a nest for all of these mallards. They will come up onto the land and find dense plants and make their little nest. And it's a great place to find shelter and raise babies in. Mallards are also very good at finding food in their water. So their food and water sources can be in the wetland. Our next example is a western screech owl. And that one's very interesting because they have a unique ability to stay camouflaged in their shelters. We have not a western screech owl here, but we have a northern saw-whet owl. Similar in size and looks, but this little owl, similar to the western screech owl, can find shelter in cavities of trees, similar to our squirrel friend here in this example. And when they find shelter in these cavities, they are able to stay camouflaged, which is an animal's ability to use its physical appearance to blend into its surroundings. Very cool. Owls, the western screech owl in particular, also is able to find food and water and shelter all here at the ELC. And they use the trees a lot as their place to find shelter. So if we take a look around, we see lots of great big trees here. And if you ever take a look into any of the cavities in a tree, you may find a nest. Those are all the animals that we're going to talk about today. And I'm so glad that you could join me here to learn about animal habitats and homes. And now is the time to ask some questions. So if you have any questions about any of the animals we talked about or the wetland behind me, I would love to hear them. Well, while we go through and wait for some of these classroom questions, I think that Sarah has, do we have a question online? Oh, someone asked if there is a screech owl in the ELC right now. Now, I haven't seen one today or recently in there, but they are known to be in the area. So if we keep our eyes out, we may see one. And Sarah's here as well. Hello, do you have some questions?
Morning. I love that question about the screech
Yeah,
owl.
have you ever seen one here?
I've never seen a screech owl here, but I actually have a screech owl pair that lives in my backyard.
Oh
So
my gosh.
So hello, good morning, everybody. I'm Sarah Bidwell. I'm the kids education coordinator. And like Rachel, I just love nature and love wildlife. Owls are kind of special to our family because we have a small backyard, but we have a lot of trees. And a few years ago, we put up a wooden box, a nesting box, and we had a pair of screech owls come and nest in that box. And so the
Wow.
past like 5 years, we've had pairs of owls in that box raise their young. And last year they had 2 young, and we got to watch them all
Oh.
spring and summer long grow up
Oh my
and
gosh.
hunt in our backyard. And you'll be surprised at what they were hunting in our
Really?
backyard.
What were they
So,
eating?
I'm going to give you a hint. They would often go down on the ground at night on a
Oh.
warm summer evening. They were catching night crawlers, like long worms.
Oh my gosh.
Because we would watch them fly down to the ground and then come up with this long, thick worm. It was really cool. All right,
Wow.
do you have another question, Michelle?
We have several. So
Excellent.
Are there coyotes living in the habitat? Is one question. What's a baby coyote called? And
Ooh.
what's the most common animal living in the ELC?
Okay, those are great questions. So the first question was, are there any coyotes living here at the ELC? We have seen some pass through, but I don't know that I've seen any this year in that burrow that I showed you. Have you seen any this year?
Well, what we have seen are signs of coyotes. So what
Mhm.
would be a sign of an animal? Like if you don't see the
Hmm.
animal itself, but they leave like a clue behind, what might that be? I'll give you a hint. Sometimes we find it on the side of the trail. We find their scat. And
Ah.
we know that it's not dog poop because coyote scat is different. It's often has the remnants of whatever they ate. So they feed often on small mammals. So their scat, their poop, is filled with bones and fur. And
Interesting.
that will change as their food changes throughout the year. So like in the fall, when they're feeding on more fruits, their poop has more like seeds and fruit debris in it. So we know we have coyote in the area because we found their scat. And they showed up right around the time when we started seeing more and more bunnies or rabbits in our area. So
Oh,
we think
yes.
that those are related because what do you think the coyote likes to eat? Yeah, the rabbits.
The rabbits, yes. And
So what was
a baby coyote. What's a baby coyote called? They are called pups.
Yep.
Just similar almost to a dog, but yeah, coyote babies are called pups. And the most common animal living at the ELC, I think, in my opinion, is birds. There's lots of birds, but specifically the mallards here are great in numbers. There are lots of mallards.
Probably insects are the most.
Oh,
say, yeah, I mean,
you know what? You're right.
for us coming here, we probably think mallards because we see them all the time.
True.
But really, our world really depends upon the variety of insects. So if we were to actually individually count every little thing, we probably have mostly insects here, which is a good thing because
Yes.
all those insects support all this variety of life that we have here. All right, Michelle, how are we doing on time?
18 minutes back.
Okay, I'm just gonna, we've got a couple questions that got sent in, so let me just share those with you. Alex from Oregon City was wondering when ducks have their babies.
Ooh,
So we
good.
mentioned before how the ducks, right, the mallards behind us in the wetland, they're courting right now. So that means they're forming their pair bonds, and they are going to start nesting probably in March. So they'll start having their young. Here at the ELC, we normally don't see ducklings until about late March, like early April, and then we see them into the summertime. Yeah, it's a really fun thing to watch. Oh, Allison from Beaver Creek was wondering what the boxes on the trees were for. If you
good
can
question.
see behind us, there are some boxes on the trees, and those are nest boxes, similar to what I was describing we have in our backyard for the screech owl. Those boxes are put up for actually a couple of duck species that nest in old cavities of trees. And so those boxes mimic that cavity that they need. And the two ducks that are the wood duck and the common merganser will nest in those.
Very cool.
Why do some animals live in holes?
Why do some animals live in holes?
That's a great question. And again, shelters provide safety and warmth and a place to sleep. And these holes in the ground, especially in the wintertime, it's a great place for animals to stay warm because sometimes underground it's a little bit warmer than it is up here out in the air where that freezing temperature is really cold. So down in the ground.
It's warmer and it's a great place to hide.
Yes, great hiding spot. Nobody is going to see you out in the open if you're down underground.
Right.
Great question. Okay.
We see, or the other question is how long can a coyote live?
How
Oh.
long can a coyote live? So in the wild, they probably live anywhere from 5 to 10 years. Because there's just naturally a lot of predation and occasionally disease. So
Yeah.
a little bit less than like a common dog. We have such a variety of animals here at the ELC. It's one of like the things I love about working here is that every day when you come outside, you find something new. So this morning,
True.
I don't know if you can hear it, but there's so much bird activity.
Yes.
We were seeing stellar jays and scrub jays. We've got
A robin.
lots of robins feeding on berries because they need to feed on that to stay warm. I heard a red-breasted nuthatch. We obviously have all the mallards behind us. I'm beginning to think about the amphibians that like the salamanders that are down underground. And in a few weeks, when it starts to warm up a little bit, and we get some rain, they're going to be making their way down to the wetland. So it's always a fun place to come.
It really
watch
is.
animals and be with nature.
Awesome.
Okay.
Well, I think that's all our questions
today. And thank you all for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us to learn about animal homes today. And next week, I hope that you can join us to talk more about animals in the wintertime and how they survive. So till next time, stay curious, get outside to explore, and I'll see you around the wetland. Bye.